Good morning. I'm J. Lenora Bressler, and welcome to the July 2021 edition of the Bible, Delight in the Details. Today, our verse isn't even an entire verse. It's just a part of a verse, and it's probably not one you've ever heard a message about. It comes from the last chapter of the book of Job, Job chapter 42, verse 7. After the Lord had spoken these things to Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, "My anger burns against you and against your two friends." Let's stop right there. It is a fascinating thing when you read the Bible that God counsels and chastises his own first. In fact, the closer you are to God, the more quickly and more deliberately you should expect chastisement when you deviate. I always say God keeps those he loves and those that are have been given an opportunity to speak on his behalf. He keeps them on a very tight leash, and I, for one, am very glad of it. When Jesus was walking around on this earth, he saved his most passionate remonstrations, not for the people that seemed to be the overt sinners. He was very patient with people who seemed to be the sinners of the day. In fact, he was often criticized by the religious elite for him being around these people that were, so obviously overt sinners. And yet, in the Bible, whether it was Jesus talking directly in his earthly form or God through the prophets throughout the entirety of the Old Testament, the most passionate reprisals are not against those that seem to be doing the most overt sinning, but rather the leaders. Who is it that Jesus took on more than anybody else? The religious establishment. Those who should have known better. Those who had been given the opportunity to be in a position of authority where they could do so much good, could bring so many people to an understanding of God, and yet were failing so dismally. It is such a part of human nature, isn't it? That when we are brought up short, when we are aware of our failings, we all tend to say, yes, okay, but I'm better than him. At least I'm not as bad as her. But you know, that kind of behavior, that kind of shell game doesn't work with the Lord. The Lord is not going to allow you or me to divert his attention to somebody else, particularly if we are in any kind of a leadership, teaching, pastoring, or example type position. It's interesting. Job had to be dealt with first. Now, Job's misunderstanding about God was very small in comparison to his friends. So you might have thought God would go first to his friends who had had such very poor understanding of God, as opposed to jumping all over Job first. But that's not what God did. The Bible says, to whom much is given, much will be required, sometimes translated as much is expected. And so be careful. Let us all be careful that when the Lord is trying to bring us into rightful examination of our own actions, and when he is counseling us that we are not living up to his will and to his standards, let's not even attempt any kind of shell game or diversionary tactics about saying, hey, shouldn't you be talking to Eliphaz over there? No, Job, I'm talking first to you. I'm J. Lenora Bressler. I hope you enjoyed and got something out of today's The Bible, Delight in the Details. Join me on the next edition. Have a great day.